Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to try and go over some very basic hand poses for you guys that kind of helped me when I started drawing, and even some more of the, probably one of the more complex poses, or at least for me it was when I started kind of figuring out hands more so for myself. To be fair, I keep it pretty simplistic as is. I do have probably like 6 or 7 poses that I repeat for my hands because hands can be a pain in the rear, to put it politely, or put it as family friendly as possible, I should say. But let's just go ahead and get started. These are going to be really basic and really simple, but I do hope that they help. I'm going to try and explain them as best as I can. Alright, so for the starting hand, this is the hand that I literally started doing when I started adding hands into my pinup pieces. And it's progressed and gotten better as the years have gone by, but it was the very generic and basic pose that I would use to kind of start adding more hands. So for the start, really all you're going to do is do a straight line, right? And that is actually going to be the back of your palm for the hand. And then from there, what I like to do is just slightly angle it and do another straight line. And then a little more of an angle, so we're getting kind of a curve in there. And another straight line. Then from that point, what I like to do is you're just going to round it out. And bring that line to the halfway point. And there's the start of your first finger. And then this one's gonna be a little more round, but it's also gonna be kind of a little bit fatter as you get towards the base. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna stop before you meet the same knuckle point. So this is gonna be your knuckle point. You wanna stop a little bit early because what you're gonna do then is you're gonna come to about right here on the inside, and you're gonna start your middle finger. And we're just going to do the same thing, one straight line, come to the next knuckle, and then another straight line at a slightly more angled. And I like to go a little longer than the index finger because I don't know about you guys, but my middle finger is longer than my index. And then, before you go all the way, what I like to do is I like to come down to about here, and then I do another straight line, and I add my ring finger already. And then I bring those down to the halfway, and I widen that out just a bit, so it's almost something like that. Okay? And then you're gonna go just about halfway, and I like to do kind of a little curve, like just a little one like that, right in there, and then just do a line. And the reason I kind of like to leave this little like knuckle gap is I just like the way that it looks personally. You can complete that line if you want and do the full fingers lined up. But I like just leaving that gap. I think it looks cuter, or at least for my own personal opinion, I like how it looks. And then for the pinky, so for the fingers, because this one is more in the background, you're always going to go in front of the next one. So you want to create that more perspective guide of that finger being behind the next finger. So it's the same way with the pinky. A straight line. And this one, obviously, you're not going to go quite as far because it is the pinky. And then round it down, and then create that round palm. And you can extend that one. And there you've created your first hand. And that's really how I started drawing my hands. And obviously you get better as you go, you get quicker, you kind of figure out how you like them to look, how you don't like them to look, if you want a little more curve, if you don't, you know, and you just can practice that. You can change the angle on it. Very simple. And even like probably shortening up this, unless your palm is just huge, but trying to just keep it very basic and just practice that. You know, if you are new to hands, I know it's not easy. A great reference, because reference photos are always going to be your good friend, is looking at princess coloring books or coloring books with females in it if you are going for female hands, or even superheroes if you're looking for more masculine hands. And really just kind of looking at the simplistic form that they do. And you can take it from there and start changing up the shape of your hand and really adding more details. You know, if you want to add the finger lines, if you want to add more of a knuckle line, because a lot of the ways that I do it too is I don't necessarily add like lines, but I like to like shade the fingers, and then I'll pull back that color to where it's more dark at the tips but then lightens to about here, and then I'll add kind of another shade, and that's really more so just to add more depth to the way that it looks and kind of give it a little more of a dimension in a simple way that lets you get away without having to add all the lines. So for the next kind of, hopefully it's a little more complex but also kind of a simple, hey, this is how I do it, is the thumb. So for the thumb, what I like to do is I start with the line always, and then this one has a little bit of a curve outward. So the way I think about it is, if I look at my thumb, this part right here curves up. Let me see if I can get a good angle. There we go. So it curves up, and I'm sure maybe your thumb is a little different. So I just try and add that little kind of tip, and then I bring it down so it has a little bit more of a curve outward. And then when you come to this halfway point, instead of doing the skinny finger, I add the thumb base. So if you think about it, you know, picturing your palm and looking at your palm, your thumb has all of this area. And a lot of times when you do see like perspective guides that are broken down, you'll see, oh, there's the circle for the thumb, and then you add this knuckle here, and then add this knuckle here. I don't like those. They confuse me. They're great for after you've kind of gotten your own little base down and you have more of an understanding, but for starting out, it more so confuses me. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm sure there are other people who feel that way. So that's why I'm trying to give you just two of the basic hand poses that I like to use. So we do the thumb, do the line, this nice little curve, and then what you're gonna do is you can start from there, you can start up here, but I'm gonna add another line, and then I'm going to curve that line outward, and in doing so, I'm going to create my first finger. And I'm then going to start a little more angled, but I'm going to start behind the first finger and create my next finger. Then, like I said, I always like to do this where after I've kind of drawn the second one, I don't go all the way down. I start my ring finger and then go from there. And then, you know, the start of the pinky is going to be behind your thumb. So you can make your pinky a little more crooked, however you'd like. And then I'll go back and add just a line to give a little more definition. But there you have it. You know, pretty simple. And there you got a hand with a thumb in front of it, kind of something like this. In a way, you know, or a little more angled, I guess. So something just real basic. You just draw your thumb. And then you don't even have to go all the way down to the base. You can go kind of halfway. Draw that finger. And I'll probably, yeah, so straighten this line out actually, because you do want it to meet for the hand. And now you have another perspective. So the thumb just, I mean, that's really just a basic design, because it's pretty easy for you to take it to and say bend the thumb just a little bit more. So, you know, here I'm going to put my finger a little more forward, or a little more on the side of the thumb. You know, so it's just really the simple way of adding the thumb in, and that's really what I was trying to show you. I realize that I'm not the best at giving tutorials. I've still got stuff to work on, but I wanted to kind of just give you guys, I know people were asking like, oh, tutorials on hands and feet and the body, and I plan on doing that. This is the first of Tutorial Tuesday. I try to keep it really simple. You know, think of it too, where if you do this hand, and then you can combine kind of the thumb idea, not the full thumb, but take into effect, right? So for this one, I'm actually going to angle. This was going to be the back of my palm. I'm going to kind of have a little bit of a more dainty-like finger. But then, right about here, I'm going to have my thumb. And you just added just a little bit to this to make it a little more complete. So just some simple tips and tricks. Hopefully it helped. I know I'm not the best, but I just want to give you guys kind of a little perspective on how I approach drawing my hands. You know, another thing you can do before I let you guys go is drawing your thumb. The nice thing is, right, is that you can pretty much angle your finger wherever from this thumb base and get yourself your own kind of setup. So like here, I'm gonna go almost from the top of the knuckle, or the knuckle of the thumb, and draw my first finger. And then I'm gonna draw the other two and my pinky. And then you can kind of draw a little like palm line, and I like to put like a little line there. And now your hand is more so angled towards you. And it's kind of just a simple way of doing that. You know, there are more obviously complicated ways that you can figure it out, but I wanted to kind of just do 2 simple poses for you guys, or 2 simple layouts of just little tips and tricks. How I would approach it, how I would do it, and trying to make it as simple as I can to help you guys who are really getting started, because starting with multiple different hand poses, or sometimes even starting with trying to look at references when you don't have kind of a simple basis, can be confusing, and I know that. And that's where I say, if you want a good reference, look at coloring books. They're surprisingly great because it's just the line work. Handy is a app on iOS. I'm not sure if it is on Android. It is just Handy. I'm sure I think they do have stuff that you can purchase, but there's a lot of good stuff that is free, so don't feel like you have to spend your money, because you can get hand poses, you can get the skeletal structure, faces, all kinds of stuff like that on there. And then just Google itself. Google's a great little reference. I also like to use the Sketchy app when I'm looking to draw people or from pictures, which occasionally I do go on there and I'll pick a picture and I'll draw somebody and then I'll post it. So it just, stuff like that, that's little tips and tricks to help you grow. In all honesty, I haven't taken an art class since high school, which was 11 years ago now. So it's something where, in a lot of ways, I had to figure out, especially because I've only developed this style over the last probably 4 or 5 years. So I had to figure it out for myself. And, people and YouTube's a great one too. And I know obviously I'm here on YouTube, but you kind of have to figure out your own way of developing it and your own way of learning it. If looking at perspective guides like this, help you out, perfect. Because you're going to understand like the cylinder and all that stuff. That stuff more so, it's really busy for me to look at. So looking at it as a reference, it's more so if I'm trying to educate myself on shading that I will look at perspective guides, because shading goes more into the 3-dimensional side of it, where looking at a 2-dimensional reference or even like a coloring book or something like that more so gives you the line work to look at. And that's just what's helped me throughout the years, is even on Instagram, looking at other artists' line work and using some of their hand poses as references, but then extending it for myself. It could be a simple hand pose where it's something like, they are doing it for a cartoon and they have a little hand like this, but I extend it just enough, right, to start to elongate those fingers and make it a hand more so for myself. And I can extend that even more, until I'm getting used to what I need to draw. And it's just little tips like that that can help you grow more and figure it out for yourself. Even for my body poses and everything like that, I'll be viewing that in another video, but I use simplistic references, and then I just take that body shape and make it my own by adding more curves or adding less thickness in certain areas, or making him a little more chubby even too. So just stuff like that you kind of grow and figure out as you go. And I don't want you guys to get discouraged because you're not hitting the mark just yet. It took me a long time to even add hands, and I still struggle with it. And it's something you're going to. Hands are not easy, and I am not the first to admit it, but I will be first to admit it for myself that I struggle with it, And there are times where I will erase a hand 10, 15, 20 times where I just, no, that doesn't look right, I erase it. No, it doesn't look right, I erase it. And then all of a sudden, I have to start over an image or transfer an image because I have this huge smudge where I just erased and redrew and erased and redrew and erased and redrew a hand because to me it wasn't just right. And that's okay because you get practice out of it, you know. But if you find yourself getting to a point where you're frustrated with something or something isn't sticking just right, just try it. Give yourself a little time. Try it again. Maybe try looking up a reference that's easy for you and then try it again. You know, I still struggle with things in my art, but that's the part of growing and that's the part of learning. And that's the beauty of doing all this, is that you can have fun with it, you can be creative, and remember at the end of the day, the art is for you. You know, the art is for you to relax and enjoy and get lost in what you're doing. Not just as a hobby, but as a passion. It's something to just keep in mind. You know, you guys got this. And I hope this helps. I know it was super simple, and I wish I was better at doing tutorials, but all the same, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for putting up with me and listening to my awful literature when I talk, because sometimes I stutter over my words, but all the same, you guys rock. I hope that you've had an awesome new year so far, and I hope that it continues to be a great year for you. And I hope that you had a good weekend. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.